Hey, welcome to our special edition of Odd Musings at the nighttime, 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Heck, in the mornings it's not that much far into the light the way it's been lately, but hey.
Right?
But
So off air,
yeah.
I'll reveal it. So when I first signed in, me and Brett usually have a few minutes to just chit chat before we go on the air. And I go, "Good morning," and it's like, "Oops, wait, we're not in the morning anymore."
Yeah. It's a muscle memory at that point. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? The worst
Yeah.
though, the worst is, especially when you're talking to another dude, is out of habit just from talking to a loved one. You're getting off the phone. He's like, "Okay, I love you." And then you hang up and you're like, and it's like, yeah, you too. Thanks.
Yeah. Any more of our stuff, our niceties is all just it's on automatic.
Yeah.
Things like
Autopilot.
that. We just kind of, greetings, things like that. So, at least it's not everybody's kind of like, all right, I'm going to go, hey, F you, man. Yeah, F you too.
Exactly.
Or I like the one, I finally saw the actual video. I've heard the audio many times, and it's the guy hollering across there, hey, what's your name? Joe. F you, Joe.
Yep, I love
What's
that
your name? It's across like a lake or something like that. So.
And then he returns the favor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
F you.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So, hey, let's knock out some quick ad reads, get this going here, and so we can get into some fun stuff today. I'll start us off with Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. They create They take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital x-rays, orthotics by foot levelers, young limb essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. They are located, like I said, in Belleville, Michigan, Dexter, Michigan. That's the Belleville location number. That's the one that's easier to get a hold of is Belleville. They have more hours. And then, of course, right here you can see all the different stuff they offer as services, and definitely they can give you a good consultation. If you're not anywhere in Southeast Michigan, give them a call if you need some help locating a good chiropractor in your area. We've talked many times about both of us have gone chiropractic care. I've been going to Lawrence's for quite a long time. Was there today, and it definitely helps because this cold weather is just kicking my behind.
Yeah, for sure. And we got Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying and selling experience, we never forget at its core, it's a people business. And that's not just an ad read. That's our mission statement. It's actually on our banner back there. It's our true mission statement, and we actually believe in it and we follow it. In fact, just FYI, in case I have to quickly pop off and mute my screen, it's because I'm in the middle of a negotiation right now, waiting for an answer. So that we've been going back and forth for 3 hours now. So I think we're nearing the end, and maybe I'll have a final verdict pretty soon. But that's the exciting part of real estate. But give us a call. I'm going to post our number here in the comments, 586-232-5144. That's our team hotline. And like I said, if you enjoy Russian roulette, call that number. You don't know if you're going to get me or Jill. So it's round robin. If you're unlucky, you get me.
I guarantee you one thing, you won't get me.
I can add you to the list.
That's okay. My phone goes off enough as it is.
Yes, for sure.
Mostly text, but that's what's going on here. Was my alerts went off for someone to place an order that I'm preferred with out there this evening and all that. So, but so hey, we've had some excitement here in Detroit.
Yeah, what if anybody's watching outside of Detroit, it's really hard to. It's you can feel the energy everywhere.
Yeah,
around here, and some people I know who've been down there, they were saying it was insane how alive it was down in the city, even though it was super cold out there. Mm-hmm. All the restaurants were packed, every place was packed, tailgaters, everything.
Because even people that did have tickets, there's a lot of people that just wanted to be down there in that area.
Yeah,
to be close to when that goes on, and. I gotta tell you, it was I watched the game. I got home. I flew in. I'll talk about that here in a little bit too. But got home in time to watch the last of the half of the second quarter, and then the rest of the game, of course. But it was, I'll tell you, it was first half was really good for the Lions. I think the second half they were having some issues, some challenges. But I will say this: as much numbers as Stafford threw up on his passing and everything else during the second half, the Lions defense was able to rally and shut them down and keep them minimal scoring. The game was tight,
It was tight.
and like someone on Monday, I said, "Are you a Lions fan?" I know, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm so excited that they won." I said, "But it was not pretty. That was a ugly win, but." Much like in horseshoes and hand grenades, a win is a win.
A win is a win. And and you gotta give credit to the Rams too. It's not so much, it was ugly, but it was because they fought hard.
They had some good players out there that were really trying hard. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some good plays, and it came down to it was an odd ending because it took me a moment to realize what was happening. Because usually when you're that close, the game ends on a field goal attempt or somebody. It's either everything is make or break on this last play, and I'm watching, and it's like it dawns on me, like, wait, they're running out the clock. There's like a minute 30 left. What's going on? Like, why aren't they calling timeout?
Well,
I'm like, they've used their timeouts.
Yeah, the Rams had used all their times out up. They couldn't do anything, and they got pushed back just beyond where they needed to be at for the field goal.
Yeah. So there's two key parts here. One, this is and the coach talked about it. This shows the power of automatic sensors. You gotta love smart buildings.
Yeah.
Anyways, the power of the home game. The fans were so loud. Twice the Rams had to use timeouts just to figure out what play they were calling.
Yep.
And that used up the timeout. So that final stretch, the Rams couldn't stop the clock. That was huge. Mm-hmm. And the other huge play, there are times where it does bite us. But, if you're watching from out of state, on the sports radio, they call him Dan Gamble instead of Dan Campbell, our coach, because he has no problem going for a fourth down. He has no problem risking stuff and trusting in his guys. And when they called that penalty on third down, it could have gone to a fourth down situation, and then they could have gone for a field goal, or he could have taken the penalty, allow them to call the penalty. No, he waived it and made him replay the play. No, he accepted it. I forget how it went. But anyways, what he did was the risky maneuver, gave him another chance, but it put him back just outside of field goal range so they couldn't attempt field goal. Right. That's what it was.
Yeah, because they had to call him. Yeah, they had to replay third down, but they took the yardage, and instead of going for a fourth down and short, it would have
been a field goal, but 52 yards, I think it would have been.
A little bit more than that. No, I think it's a little more than that.
54.
But yeah,
it's
it was
definitely like right on the edge of that.
52, I think they would have gone for it, but they with a field goal. But I think it was more like towards 60. I think it was definitely up there, high 50s. But I could be, all I know is that Campbell's really good about taking those risks, and he's really good about pushing the envelope on that. Right. And then you get the ball back. Now, when the Lions got the ball, they had to get a first down. If they didn't get a first down, the Rams could have got the ball back. Because even with time running down, it could have ran down to the point where they still would have had like 20 or 30 seconds the way they got the ball. But Goff got it to Amon-Ra, and they got the first down by an inch. And at that point, that game was over.
Huge.
Yeah,
when that play got made, and like I said, for me, it took a moment to register because I had forgot they used up their timeout. So I was like, why are we kneeling here? What's going on? I'm like, there's too much time to.
They were running it down. They had it by 2 seconds.
Yeah, they had it just in the window, and Rams couldn't stop it. And the energy was insane everywhere.
Yep. Well, I was watching some of the interviews for afterwards, and it was like 15, 20 minutes after the game was over, and the stands were still quite filled with people. Nobody wanted to leave. They were excited. So, I mean, this has been a huge deal for Detroit. This isn't just like, we've made the playoffs. I pulled it up, and, it's been it's 2016 last time we made the playoffs, wild card, but nobody's really believed in anything in their lives. This is the first year in my lifetime that I can remember that people truly and I've felt this way for the last couple of years now, is like, they really they are showing up. They are playing hard. It may not be pretty wins sometimes, but they're definitely showing up, and they're not giving up. Even when they lose, they don't give up to lose. They fight till the end.
And that's the key, is even in years where we did well in the past, we have this phrase, SOL, same old Lions. Yeah. And the reason for that is even in the years we were doing okay, they always found a way to lose. They found a way to screw up with a penalty. They found a way to screw up with some weird play that the ref calls, or there was always something. But this team this year, well, actually starting the second half of last year, actually is really when they got their momentum. You look at the record for the last year and a half; it's amazing.
Well, their win-loss record the last year and a half is a telltale thing. Realistically, I gave them the full season last year. They lost several games at the beginning, but if you watch those games, I don't watch them all close because I'm working a lot of times on the Sundays, but paying attention, watching replay, stuff like that, I'm watching going, okay, when they were losing at the beginning of last year, not this season, the previous season, and they started that same old Lions losing, and people, crappy Lions are losing. It's kind of like, yeah, but they're close. If we watch, though, they're not quitting, they're not giving up. And as I've always said, the biggest problem I had with Stafford was when he started faltering in the fourth quarter, which is usually what he did. If you watch it, he'd be on the sidelines just kind of whining, crying, carrying on, throwing a fit. And I had people I had to block one guy on Facebook who I guess I was friends with, but I didn't really know who he was because he's like, going off on me about it. I said, look, go back and watch. That's all he did. I don't care what his numbers say. I don't care that he's got a Hall of Fame career. The media loves him. Everybody loves him. NFL loves him. He's going to the Hall of Fame, first round ballot. It's a given for Stafford on that. The thing is this: if he was so great, why couldn't win a playoff game with the Lions? They made the playoffs when he was here. People forget that.
Yeah.
And he had good players to work with. And yes, I will grant this, that I've said for many years, they needed to fire from the top down. And when the daughter took over 3 years ago, and from the mom, her father passed and all that, she changed the whole culture of the game. Because for too many years, too many decades, her parents were, oh, well, so-and-so, we just love them, and that's why they keep them there forever. And they don't worry about winning because it's like a son to them. And it's like, no, this is a business. You guys got to win. And that's what really changed was her coming in. So even the first year that Campbell's in, everyone's like, oh, this is the same old Lions. He sucks too, and blah, blah, blah. You have to get through a year of rebuilding, of going through the muck that was already there to sort everything out, to get to the point where you can build the team that you need to build to get where you need to be at.
Yeah. Regarding Stafford too, if you want to love Stafford, that's fine. But Brett and I, we've been pretty consistent on our views on Stafford. I have nothing against him as an individual. He seems like a nice guy, but everyone keeps quoting his yards and it doesn't matter if you can get 1 billion yards a season. What matters is, do you get across the goal line? And teams that play always know Stafford can move the ball, and they always give him that. But when he gets to the red zone, that's where he falters every time. Yeah. And that's what happened in this game, thankfully. He couldn't get past the red zone.
Yeah.
And what did they have, 4 or 5 attempts, I think? And
well, last half, I really thought that they were going to win it by 2 touchdowns the way they were getting down there so fast. Right. And
but then he gets there and he can't finish.
And the Lions shut him down and
shut him down. And then to Brett's point of how Stafford's a whiner, he is a whiner. And it came out in the post game where, did you see where the reporter asked, like, what because of Stafford's been here for so long, he knows the city of Detroit. Yeah. The question was specifically asked, well, what are your feelings? Are you happy for the fans of Detroit? Is the Detroit fans? That's what it is. Are you happy for the city of Detroit? And he goes, I'm happy for the players. That was an intentional diss against.
Well, and that's the thing, and they could be on that. I mean, his wife has been very vocal about stuff with Detroit, stuff like that, and she's way out of line on all that stuff, in my opinion. He needs to keep her mouth shut. But the thing is, he wanted to be praised as the greatest thing ever, and when he left, he still wanted to be praised as the greatest thing ever for Detroit. It's like, no, you did nothing for the city of Detroit on the field. He's got some great charity work. He's done some things in the city.
Yeah, he's a great person.
But he was when Campbell came in, when the changes were being made all in the front office, he wanted to be traded.
Yeah,
he wanted gone.
Yeah, and a big deal was made about, this is Goff versus Stafford and and who's going to be madder. There's nothing Stafford should be mad about. He asked for a trade. They did the best for him, and he won a Super Bowl next year. So, I mean, he did well enough.
And even with that, I tell people, go back and watch that game, and the defense on the Rams won that game because the Cincinnati screwed up a couple times there in that last few minutes where all they had to do was get a touchdown, and they would have won that game.
Well, the key there is Stafford joined a team that didn't need a leader. They already had leaders. Yeah. So he was a part of he was a team player, and he fit well in that because he wasn't the driving force. Now, Goff, on the other hand, who came here, became a leader, and he is leading, and you can tell. And same with Dan Campbell. When you see him in the locker room giving his speeches, it's
Hmm.
inspiring. It's
Yeah.
men. It's men talking to men, being inspiring to each other. And you can tell in that locker room, they follow each other. They're all in for each other. You can see it, you can hear
Yeah.
it. And when Campbell gave his opening speech, someone put this together recently. It's a montage of all the sports reporters on ESPN and other things where, Campbell's saying how, well, we're biting kneecaps and we're, doing all this stuff. And people are like, this guy's a Neanderthal. What? This is a one guy was like, I feel so bad for the fans of Detroit. And well, all those people I'm sure now are pretending like, oh, we always knew he was going to do well. No, you guys
Yeah.
ripped them apart for it. But they understood. You look at city identities matter, even in our other sports.
Yeah.
We only do well as teams in the city of Detroit when we focus on grit, hard work. The Pistons years, it was the bad boy era and the going to work era.
Yeah.
The Lions, it was when they talk about grit. This is all about the grit era.
Yeah.
And Red
Campbell wears
Wings,
a
and we're
hat. One of the
grinding
hats.
it out.
One of the hats that Campbell's wears says "grit" on it, and he wears that
Yeah.
for a lot of the interview stuff with the reporters every day.
We're not a flashy area. We're blue collar, hard workers. We go to work. We put in the hours. And when our teams reflect that, we do well.
Yeah.
Look at U of M too. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is doing old fashioned Big Ten football,
Yep.
Michigan football. He's not doing the flashy stuff. He won national championship.
Well, and
doing that.
and the big thing with that is, he put together a team. It's funny as I was speaking of him, we're switching out gears real quick on them. I remember the first few years Harbaugh came in. I know people that were been hardcore U of M fans were posting, well, we got to fire Harbaugh, get rid of Harbaugh. He shouldn't be here.
Right.
This was the first few years. Now, of course, they're praising him and everything else. He came in and had to rebuild. It was for college. You can't do well. They can do a little more with the transfer portal now, but back when it started, they didn't have that. So you have to recruit and build, and it takes time. And the thing he put together was this team here, and you saw it with Blake, JJ McCarthy, those two being some of the main leaders, and a few others that are leaders on that team. And they all came together. We're brothers. We work hard. They were all working hard together. I mean, Blake Carl trying to go pro last year, but he said, "No, I want to go back. I want to win a national championship." They all said, "We want to win this. They didn't want to lose another thing. They went and played hard." And that was the key. There was the players themselves, were wanting to be there. And we've had so many years with the Lions where so many players just seem to be collecting a paycheck, and that's from the highest paid to the lowest played. And but when you're making the kind of money that Stafford was making as a quarterback here, and they weren't winning, they should have been getting rid of them and rebuilding the team, but they didn't do that until after they had to change a lot of other stuff too. So
when a culture of losing sets in, when a culture of selfishness sets in, where everyone's just worried about themselves, it's a hard thing to turn around. It's very hard because even if you get out the main ringleaders, there's those who linger on who are, well, that's not how it used to be done. I want to do it the way I always did it. And it takes a lot to turn a ship around. And Campbell to turn it around in 3 years, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
but
and it's
had
a
the
lot
support of his owner.
Yeah, a lot of that talk is not just in sports and everything. Is that nobody wants they want to keep things the same old.
But the key was he had the support of his owner.
Yes.
Whereas prior to, am I saying Sheila Hemp Ford?
Yeah.
That's her name. Sheila Hemp Ford, before she took over, the Fords were, I'm sorry to say it, they were soft. They were soft people. They were nice people, but they were soft. And they had a hard time firing people. They were loyal to a fault to people. And like the Matt Millen era was a great example where they re-signed the guy and no one in the city wanted him.
Well, they were protesting in the stands to the point where they were actually banning people from the stadium,
right?
Because they were wearing Fire Millen T-shirts and and they wouldn't get rid of him. Finally, they had to get rid of him because the furor was it was more than slow. It became nationwide,
right?
And even then, of course, he was doing that. He was a general manager trying to coach.
Yeah.
And so going through the coaches, and then the coaches they went through, it was just a bad culture, and it took definitely getting someone that comes in, and but Sheila Ford Hamp is currently running the team. She's 73. She had a college career as an athlete, so she understands athletics and actually competing and being in there and not just having money and running a team. But the thing was, her and Campbell sat down together before he really even took the job, and like, he knew what he wanted to do, and she knew what she wanted to have happen, and that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing was he had to be allowed to run the team.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to allow a box to up there to call down and say, "You're not
Yeah.
doing something. I want to see so and so do whatever." So, but
there is an official ending of an era that no one's talked about.
what's that?
I don't think anyone in the country has mentioned it. Wayne Fonts is no longer our best coach ever.
Well, no, he's not, and it's
Dan Campbell has gone farther than Fonts.
yeah. But give Wayne Fonts his credits. He worked through a lot of negatives and hard struggles to do what he did in the early '90s, and it's just again
But
there
who
and
would've
again
thought?
and when we talk about like Stafford and stuff, the thing was that Stafford didn't pull his part. But at the same time, the owners didn't do their part, and there is a lot of blame and a lot of different ways you can say it in those eras. But the thing is, this is that you know when you had owners like that were basically going against the grain, against the coaches and everything else, and making it more difficult for them. That's one thing. But when you have players that, to me, it's like they showed that, like I said, the teams knew him and everything else. He had Megatron. He had all these great players he could have worked with as a thing as a quarterback if he really wanted to step up. But realistically, what did we haven't had someone like Jared Goff. He's stepping up. Him and his fiance, they talk about stuff. They praise Detroit. They praise the city more. They're not just like saying that because they have a foundation because they have to funnel money through it to cut their taxes. It's a lot of stuff they're doing. But if you look at also what Jared did prior to coming, he made it to the Super Bowl in 2019. He made it, in 2019, the divisional and the NFC championship. He made it again after that point in 2021 to the NFC wild card and NFC divisional, all with the Rams. So he was already on a team that was there, and really, they went and took Stafford and everything else because they already had everything in place, and they needed. And I think Goff, in a lot of ways, people were so upset he came here initially. I wasn't. I thought he was a good quarterback. It was a fit with culture and stuff like that. And I think with the Campbell era, Goff is the man for Campbell.
And it's also the sign of, we're talking about from the top down. To be fair to Stafford, it's not his job to decide his role in the team.
Yeah.
And his coach, his general manager, his owner. That's 3 big levels above him. Even they have offensive line coordinators, so there's 4 levels above him. They should have recognized what type of person Stafford is and use him accordingly. Their job is to bring out the best of each player, not to put them in roles they're not comfortable with. Stafford's not a leader. He just isn't. He's fine as a player, but there was this mission, and this is where I think the NFL, the sports media, and everybody did Stafford wrong, is for some reason they absolutely want Stafford to be like the face of the NFL. They want to praise him. They want us to believe he's so good. And the best example is Stafford and Tebow. This is my biggest pet peeve. If you look how Tebow throws the ball, he does this thing, and they ripped Tebow apart for his form. But Stafford has the same form if you watch him. But Stafford's a gunslinger. And until the Super Bowl year for Stafford, Tebow, with his very short career before he was run out of the NFL, had more playoff wins than Stafford for like 12 years in the NFL.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when Stafford slings it with that sidearm, he's a gunslinger. Tebow does it. Oh, he doesn't even have good mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? But they were just hell-bent on Stafford being the name. And I think that pushed him into a role that he really shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. All I look is that Tebow was made the quarterback for the Broncos, and they were not expected to do anything, and he helped lead them to the playoffs. He
went like on a 6-game winning streak, got them in the playoffs, won the first round. I think they almost made it to the. I think they
lost the second. They lost the second one, but it wasn't bad.
It was close.
And then he was released from the team because they brought in Manning the next year, which was the plan anyways.
And then they sent him over to the Jets, who sidelined him, and then they cut him after, right at the deadline, so that all the other deals were made and he couldn't go to another team.
Yeah.
Like they really orchestrated a screw job.
Yeah, there's a lot of collusion on that, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
I
because
agree.
again, yeah, same thing. Is he could have been. I think if he'd have been able to be with the team and stay with the team, and they work
Yeah.
with him, Tebow would have definitely led a team at least into the playoffs more than once.
Yeah, was he like the best quarterback ever? No, he wasn't a Tom
No,
Brady, but
but he won
but
2 national championships in college, and when he came to the pros, the biggest complaint they had right away was that he liked to pray before he went on the field.
yeah, and for some reason, there's other players who pray on the field. They're fine with that, but
Yeah,
whatever.
never. Yeah,
He was actually the good face of the NFL.
yeah.
We have
Well,
to
he was
stop that.
someone. Yeah, he had his beliefs and stuck to him.
Yeah,
So.
but
But
not
hey,
to make this about Tebow,
or
but
just an entire football because
yeah,
we've already talked 20 minutes on football. But
yeah,
so, but yeah,
it's been
so we
fun.
got a game on
And
Sunday, 3 o'clock. They're taking on Tampa Bay, which is our buddy Kevin's favorite team, and it's
I
gonna be
do want to
two games.
say one last thing about the football, though.
Yeah.
So we had a major screw job a couple weeks ago in Dallas.
Yes.
Bad call, and that screwed our seating position. But all was made right for once. Thank you to Green Bay Packers. They knocked out Dallas by a blowout that no one expected. But
Yeah.
that moved us up a seed, and so this is another home game.
Yes.
So now all we need is someone to knock off San Francisco, and then we will be the number one seed for the rest of the playoffs.
Right. Well, and it's an interesting thing because with the Eagles losing, which the Eagles just fell apart the last half.
What
They
happened?
had
They were so strong first half.
Yeah, nobody's been able to really say that, at least when you're talking about it. It's like things are just not clicking all of a sudden. So
Yeah, it just fell
um,
apart.
there's a
And
lot
that
of
can
lot of
happen.
the media stuff like on ESPN, all them talking about it's the coaches and not anything else. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the Eagles because I kind of really thought that the way the season was going that the Lions would make the playoffs, but the Eagles and 49ers would end up in the Super Bowl. So
That's why I was looking first half of the year.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's why you play the games.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I mean, again, any Tampa Bay winning was not expected to win, and of course that was against the Eagles. So, but yeah, that Green Bay game though, jeez, that was a shellacking.
Oh, brutal! And it was in Dallas.
It
That's
was
what's
in
even
Dallas,
more
yeah.
amazing.
Yep. Yeah,
That's even more.
The owner of Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, is just not very happy right now. So,
No, he was crying.
yep.
But
So,
good stuff. We
So-
don't mind seeing the Dallas lose.
so I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of football over the weekend, not because I was working. I actually had a chance to go down to DC. I got a message
Yeah.
a few months ago from my buddy Matt's wife, Juliet, said, "Hey, I know you travel a lot. This is what's going on. We're having a surprise 50th birthday party for Matt, and if you can make it, it'd be great." And so I started looking into it. I was like, "Yeah, I can do that. That's dates worked out fine." I started looking at what costs to get down there, flights and hotel and all that, and flew down Saturday morning. Had a 2-hour delay because of all this weather craziness out there, but I still got out there. Made it about 20 minutes before Matt showed up at the party, so I was there on time, and I surprised my buddy Matt, who I had not seen in several years. He did not know I was coming. He didn't know anything about the party until he showed up. And I was the only one there. He had a couple other friends that came in from. His sister came in from England, and he had another friend who happened to come over for work, but he lives over in the Netherlands, and then another buddy from Canada. So it was a few of us that came in. And so we all get to spend some time on Saturday night and then Sunday before all of us flew back home and to our respective homes and that. But it was great to head out and celebrate a buddy of mine turning 50 and earning his chance at an AARP card. Of course, I forget who we were talking about. One of the people there mentioned something about their 52. I said, the next goal is the senior coffee at McDonald's. It used to be like 55. I think it's gone up, but I remember the senior coffee at McDonald's was like a quarter. When it was $1 for a cup of coffee. Now it's like $5. It doesn't matter what you get, but so like that. It's funny. We have these goals. You turn 21 so you can drink, and then you wait to turn 26 so you can get a discount on car insurance.
Yeah. And there's not much until 52.
Yeah, I mean, your milestone's 30, 40, and then you turn 50, but after that, it's kind of just whatever. So that's why I had a chance to do that. So I've been busy the last couple weeks. I worked a lot last week. Did that, came home, worked, and I had a cold earlier last week. I'm still not really congested, but I got a slight cough. But this cold weather is just not letting me feel better at all. Just kind of feel tired the whole time. But so that's what I did over the weekend. I was telling Scott, we'll get into that in a minute here too, is surprisingly I actually had a chance to watch a lot of TV, but I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh yeah, because I got done working at 2 on Friday because of the snow, and then I had Wednesday off, and then I had a couple nights here and there, so I went through a couple series last week. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But Scott's got something we need to talk about to promote, so we don't go too late in the show with it.
Yeah, we got. So I've been working on the Crimson Shadows. So this is our upcoming one. It's launching January 30th. It'll be in the evening, probably around 7 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just posted the link in the comments there, and we've got 48 followers so far. So all you do, click that link and see that little green box, notify me on launch. Click that. Having more followers there helps us. It helps move us in the rankings. And once it goes live, you will get a reminder email so you can click on there and check it out. We're very excited for it. And I just want to run a quick video here of who are the Plague Doctors. Brett had the idea for these character videos, so I've been putting those together.
Yeah.
Here we go. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, Plague Doctor. That's why the cover I did for issue 4 was I did the mask of the Plague Doctor with the knife going through it. So
that's right. Yeah, homage to the Friday the 13th movie
yep.
poster.
Yeah,
the third one, part 3.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember going through. I was trying to think of some ideas, so I started looking at horror movie posters. I was like, there we go.
Yeah.
So we can homage to that. So
yeah, so this has been fun. I can't wait to launch this. It's tied up so much time, so I can't wait to be done too, so I can start drawing the next one.
Yeah, yeah, we
get moving on that.
Yep, we got a lot of good stuff with it. With that, it's I think it's a good story. I like Scott added some pages to it to kind of flesh out more of the story that was already there to add a little more context.
Yeah, a lot more Jack the Ripper context too, and some of the victims, the real life victims, are in the book.
Yeah, so definitely
immortalizing their contributions to history through our books.
Yeah. So I did mention this, Scott. We talked a little bit yesterday, and I ended up had a chance to watch it. I went through the whole series. I was surprised how fast I went through it. But they launched the Ted mini-series. They're calling it a mini-series, or as the poster says here, it says event series on Peacock. And if you remember the movie Ted and Ted 2 with Mark Wahlberg, it's about a teddy bear that came to life, his teddy bear. And it's a definitely an adult show and movies, not safe for rated R, hardcore right away. The F-bombs, you could not count them. There's so many. What I liked about this series was, one, I thought it was very funny. Two, is it's a different look at the Ted character and the Mark Wahlberg character, John Bennett, because you get to see his family, you get to see his mom and dad, and you get to see the cousin. That's her right there.
Oh, so he's actually the Mark Wahlberg character.
Correct. The kid is. Yeah.
Got it. Perfect.
And then Scott Grimes from Orville, which we had several Orville people pop in. He plays the dad. And they, of course, they're all from Boston area, so they have the heavy Boston accents. Everything is it's definitely thrown out there, very heavy on that stuff. But he's a 16-year-old who's not the coolest kid. He's kind of a nerd. I mean, he's a kid that's got a teddy bear that's alive. And of course, this takes place after Ted had became famous for being alive, and did whatever he did as a famous live teddy bear, and then basically he's back and nobody cares.
So could this be a multiverse crossover?
For what?
From an alternate universe from the Orville, when Scott Grimes' character went to Earth and didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
This would have been his life if he stayed.
No, they already showed that. Remember that episode? Remember, there's that episode of the Orville they did that, so no. But it's funny, and I think it's funny because you see him in this. He's definitely they got him chubbed up a little bit. You know, he's a little more chubbier than, and he's in that. But it's the mom in this that cracks me up. She's very just passive aggressive, very nice. They're trying to get her in the first episode, just trying to get her to swear, and she won't swear at all, and all that stuff. But it's funny because you see this, you know, the coming of age of the John character with the teddy bear, you know, having crushes on girls. First time he smokes weed, because weed's a big part of the movies. They smoke a lot of weed. First time they watch porn, they go to the movie. They have to go to a video store, and they want to go into the 18 and over porn section. And of course, they talk about how great it is, and of course, Ted's like, "It's so awesome," you know, because he's been in all that stuff, seen all that stuff. So they try to get the cousin to rent because she's over 18, and she rents him a movie, and it's not a porn. It's just this old. It's just basically it's an artsy fartsy type movie. It's very dull and dry, and they're just watching this thing in pain, going, "When's it gonna get to the sex stuff?" And it and of course then they have to sneak in there with fake IDs to go rent porn. And he rents a stack of porn.
Oh god.
So I thought it was very funny. I like the situations they set up. It's 7 episodes. They go by pretty fast. You know,
So when does it take place? Like in the 90s?
1993.
1993. Okay.
Yep.
Very
So it was like I said, supposedly like 85 that Ted comes to life. So it was like 8 years after that point.
Yeah, it's funny because like I don't think kids now understand. First of all, kids now who knows what they watch on their phones. But you know, back then you had like the video stores. You always had like that dark corner where there's like cameras on it, a big sign, like it's like the restricted area. You know, and like it's so funny.
Yeah.
How
So
things changed.
the main kid that plays John, he was in The Purge, Dead Daycare. He's been around for a little while, so he was in Parenthood for a while, the TV series. So he's been acting around. He was good. I liked him. You know, I thought he was funny. The girl that plays his cousin, you know, she had some good scenes, some funny stuff. She's been around for a little bit too, and she was in the Orville. I believe she was the girl that was on the planet where she ended up trying to steal a thing to save her planet because they were all starving, whatever. Kind of like that was when they did their Prime Directive style episodes in that. So, but I recommend it. It's on Peacock. If you got it, check it out. Of course, it's Seth MacFarlane still doing the voice of Ted. Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, the special effects for Ted and everything are just as good as the movie. So
Yeah.
and the house though is the house from Leave It to Beaver when you see the front of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can tell it's all filmed on the lots.
And unfortunately, from some of the interviews, they've asked like follow-up questions. We've gone in Orville, and just every single answer is there's probably not going to ever be a season 4.
Well, the stuff I've seen last week,
hopefully.
Seth has said, you know, don't rule it out. Stuff like that. I think what he wants to do, from a little bit that's been hinted, is I think we won't see a season. He wants to do a movie.
There you go.
And it may not even be a release in the theater movies. It might be something that pops up on like Hulu or something else. But that's a Disney thing that he's got to deal with too. That's completely different studios. So
yeah, but you know, the way they ended it, the way they grew the franchise, especially in that 3rd series, they could easily, even if someone wanted to do original stuff, I think they grew that universe enough. They could start side stories.
Yeah,
and really grow it in any direction they wanted. If he wanted to license it out and allow somebody else to take the helm,
right.
you know, so and you know, I could see that. I think it would work as like a Rebels type style animation. It would work as a TV series. It would be phenomenal as a movie.
Yeah.
So I just saw a clip of it was an older clip. Actually, it wasn't that long ago, but it was Jonathan Frakes, Riker from Star Trek, and Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and they were doing some question and answers, and they were asked about Galaxy Quest, and they talked about how when it came out, Jonathan Frakes went to see it in the theater.
Oh,
and
wow.
Absolutely loved it, and he was saying he called Jean-Luc Picard, aka Patrick Stewart in real life. He called him. He's like, "You got to go see this." And he said he was filming one of the X-Men at the time, and so
it would have been the first X-Men. Yeah.
Yeah. So he went and saw it, and they were like, "Oh my god, that was like exact." Like they were amazed at how perfectly done, and they just were talking about what a brilliant movie it is. And then Patrick Stewart was saying, I forget how long ago this interview was, but he was saying, I actually just rewatched it a couple weeks ago. He's like, it still holds up. So they were just praising how well done that movie was.
Yeah. Well, Galaxy Quest is a solid movie. There's the documentary talks about
It
it.
really
They did
is.
a few years back, but just a good movie. It's a movie that should have had a sequel long before. It's too late now, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you know,
As long as Disney Plus doesn't get the rights to it and make seasons.
well, I
Do
believe
a
that's
movie.
a Paramount thing. So
Is it?
yeah,
Well, Paramount's got their own network too. They could do it too. Just
right.
only do a season if you have a season's worth of story, please. Speaking of, you also watched another show that was a short season.
Yeah, 5 episodes. I watched that Echo, and it should have been an hour and a half movie. The problem I have with it is it's just like I'm gonna start with the fact that the character of Echo is a villain. Period. That's the way it
Right.
was in Hawkeye. She was running a street gang. She even talked about in this one. They talk about how many people she's killed. Um, it's just I get tired of they take a villain and want to have redemption and they want to blame everybody else for their problems. No, they set up this whole backstory of well her father took her to New York and then she ends up everybody's working for Kingpin. She ends up working. Kingpin takes and raises her, trains her to be this killer. And then now she's going back and she's going to redeem herself and her family and all this stuff. And then also going into her native roots that she now gets all these powers from them. Yeah, the whole thing just didn't flow right, didn't work right. I really felt like taking the existing character from one series, porting it over to its own, and then recreating the entire origin. Oh, it was just a
Right.
bunch of garbage. So I just don't recommend that one.
How
But it
about
just was, and she was okay, but it's
I've
just
heard the fight
it's
scenes were choreographed well. How was the
yeah.
action?
Fight scenes were good. I mean, there's still good fight scenes, stuff like that. But it's like she was running on the train, and she can run and leap all over this train. But she has to try to get off the train. She's on the back end of it, and she won't jump. It's like, oh, come on, and she breaks her prosthetic leg, and then so of course her uncle or her grandfather there can fix it, and he makes her a brand new one that's even better. And all, I don't know, it's just so much different things that I just felt like it was a lot of like yeah, every idea they wanted to have, like okay, that sounds pretty cool. Just throw that in there. Oh yeah, and we're gonna create the whole backstory of how the people became people for the tribe, and all the females that were from the history of the tribe are gonna endow her with powers now, and it just none of it made any sense as to from where the character came from Hawkeye.
Yeah, she was a bad guy. She
Yeah,
was with the gang, and that's the problem is she was designed for a certain thing, and then they decided, well, we can elevate this up. We're going to elevate her up into this other role. I don't know. And to be fair, I don't know how she is in the comics. I've never read any character. I never even heard of Echo until she appeared in that other series there, Hawkeye. So
right. Yeah, it's just yeah. I find it just so overdone. It fell into the typical problem we've had with a lot of these Marvel series of late. It's just they try to do way too much, throw all this extra story, and it's like, no, just tell me one solid little story.
yeah,
And realistically, this was a hour and a half long at
yeah.
best.
It's the pitfall of the streaming model.
Yeah,
It's it's content quantity. It needs content to survive, and it's just this all-consuming thing where it's like need more. Doesn't matter
yeah,
if it's quality, just push it out, push it out. So they have to have content, and so they're getting stuff where it's a movie's worth of story, but they have to stretch. So take 2 hours of story, stretch it out to 5 to 8 hours, depending on how many episodes they do, and you end up with a lot of fluff or stupidity.
yeah.
So I haven't seen it yet. I will probably watch it at some point. It's just I've been so busy. Like I'm still getting through Reacher. I haven't finished that yet. I'm
Yeah, I just
enjoying
watched.
season 2,
I watched last week's episode today. Really good. So there's a new one tomorrow night. It doesn't come out until after 9 o'clock.
but okay.
So that'll be the next one there. But
I saw a funny somebody on TikTok did a review of Reacher and like talk about Reacher shows us that no obstacle is big enough. No obstacle will stop you if you're a really large man. And like it goes through, and the answer to everything is if you're a really large man. It was funny, but kind of
Yeah.
true in this show. But it is fun to watch. I mean, it's let's let's just be honest. It's the male fantasy thing. You know, it's we want, you know, we would love to envision us being 6'4" and that built where you could just pound something. And
Yeah.
you know, like the scene where like the guy's following him and he just kicks the bumper hard enough to blow up the airbag. You know, who doesn't want to be able to do that? That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So that's all it's doing. It's that kind of a series, but I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and I think this week is the last episode. So
The part that I laugh at the most, though, when and a lot of shows do this, like their unit is called the Special Investigators. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's such a generic name. And they're like, nobody messes with the Special Investigators. And it's like, like that name has meaning. People would be looking, going, "Who?" Like the guy when he first meets Star-Lord. I'm Star-Lord. Who? That'd be the Special Investigators. Like nobody cares about you guys.
well, and that's the one thing. Well, they do call themselves the 110 because that was their unit designation, but
They do say that too, but
they say that a lot. But yeah,
we're the Special Investigators.
well, that's what they're talking about. So yeah, tomorrow's episode that comes on is the season finale, which I figure was based on this last
So
episode.
really, me
ended,
going
so.
slow hasn't been a problem.
No,
I
you'll
can
be
still
able
binge
to.
and get through the end to see
Right.
everyone else.
Yeah, I was actually going through today because I wasn't going to watch this thing, so do I want to watch something tonight to see what's anything new? And I was like, it kept popping up on one of like I think it's either Paramount or Peacock, the Reacher movies with Tom Cruise. I was like, I may have to watch that first one again, just as a comparison how that Reacher character is versus the Reacher in the series. Because everybody that's read the books said the TV series Reacher is more like the books, and everything else. So that's something I might do that. We'll see.
I did appreciate there was a fun little Easter egg. The bad guy is the Terminator
T-1000. Patrick,
whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's the main bad guy, and
Robert Patrick.
They're looking through the phone book or something, or there's a part where there's a Sarah Connor listed, and he's like, "Who the hell's Sarah Connor? I don't care about her."
Yeah, they do give a little nice little nods to that.
Yeah,
so
they gave a couple little things like that. So I thought that was funny, just a little inside, Easter egg.
Yeah, but no, I like this. What I like about this series versus like the movies was just Reacher. He was just they dealt with a couple people, I think, as a Unisnet, but this one here really is an ensemble. It's not just Reacher. I mean, Reacher's very much in the front and forefront in that.
Yeah. It almost has a little bit more harder core NCIS feel.
Yes. If they did this as a regular series, it would definitely be more. I think it would be done more like an NCIS. So.
Right. Yeah. It's just Mark Harmon on steroids.
Yeah. He's like, if Mark Harmon was more of a tough guy like that. Mark Harmon was definitely, his character was tough, but it was not like that.
Can't punch through concrete walls.
Yeah.
And I just love too. This is the part where, this is where I think male-driven movies get it. They don't take themselves seriously. It's just what it is. It's fantasy. Like Jack Reacher, he's going around. He's just flippantly killing people, no problem, putting them into concrete, doing whatever. And then he's talking to a cop, and he's like, just, oh yeah, I killed some people. It's like. Like they're not trying to be too serious. They realize they are a roller coaster ride. Get on for the fun. We're gonna have some action, some twists and turns, and then you'll get off.
Well, and that's the whole thing. Is I think it doesn't matter who is leading the series or whatever else. There's too many that want to take these type of action things and they want to just over dramatize, over politicize, or even just make it too much of a message when it's like, no, just have fun with it. That's what I liked about Ted. Ted didn't take himself seriously. and they dealt with these issues a 60-year-old deal with.
Right.
But in the context of if you had a teddy bear that came to life and he was your best friend, how would you deal with it? And it shows how he's dealing with this stuff. He's got to doesn't have really any friends, and things like that. And it's part of
Yeah.
it's just because he's just
Well, I think because the pendulum's always swinging and what's popular and what's not popular, and I think we people were so everything was so fake for so long in movies, and it was kind of dry. There was a desire for realism. I think
Yeah.
it just everything went too hard towards realism, and it started. It's like, but I'm here for fun. It's an escape. I don't need to be reminded how crappy the world is. I know that already. So I
Yes.
think maybe that's where we've gone too far to the realism, too far in. Well, you have to be told the truth in this. I know the truth. I just want fun. That's it.
Well, and that's the whole thing. That's what problem we got into is too much of, like you said, they want to tell these actual factual. Most of these movies that are based on actual current events, I have zero desire to see because I've already seen them on the news. I don't need to
Right.
see it dramatized. I've not watched any movies on 9/11. Don't care to. I saw it happen on the news live. I don't need
Yeah.
to see these stories stuff like that. I already felt bad enough when it was happening and hated to see it happening then. So, but it's just one of those things where if I want to see something, I want to see like movie got released last week. I want to go see is The Beekeeper. If I get a chance, I'm going to try to go see it.
I've seen a lot. That's another one. A lot of people are saying it's really good, but it's people who just went for fun.
Yeah, Godzilla -1 had a really good story with the people and that, but it's not the greatest story ever. But it dealt with some very slightly with some issues that was going on at the time it's set, which is into World War II in Japan. So it dealt with some of how they were going through to set up for the context, and then of course they dealt with the how Godzilla was created, was already there, was already a creature in the sea, and with the Bikini Atoll Islands when they were doing the testing on it, that's where they got the powers and everything else. That was actually already established with Gojira, the first Godzilla movie. But they told a good human story, and that's was what I liked about that one this year. I want to be entertained. I want to have good stories, but I don't necessarily need all these realism type things, or even if it's a fake story, try to make it sound like it's based on an actual true event or something.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. We have the ISS movie coming out, the International Space Station. That's coming out this weekend, it looks like. So that's I'm interested to see another one. It's just so fun. Is it real? No. The whole world's blowing up, and all these astronauts are fighting space.
Yeah.
Realistically, they probably would be like, okay, everyone down there is dead. Just look out the window. Why are we fighting? Because if the whole world is blown up in nuclear war, okay, let's say you win. No space supplies are coming up from down there.
Yeah.
And you're not going back and landing. So
it's the whole thing is it's a way of dealing with the Cold War, which is with things going on in our world now with Russia attacking Ukraine, the U.S. and the tensions and all that stuff. It's that Cold War tension era thing they're trying to recreate. I'll wait to see what you say. I have zero desire to see it.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer, I was looking, I was like, I'm not going to enjoy this. This would be better if it was on a space station done like a Armageddon movie. I enjoyed that when they dealt with the space station bit on that one as they're going trying to blow up. I like those type of fantasy films. When you start throwing in real world politics into something like this, they start losing me on that aspect because I'm like going, okay, in the trailer it's like, they show the whole world being covered with nuclear bombs. Yeah. I'm like, nobody's surviving that. I'd be looking at these people go, okay, you guys got your orders, we got our orders. Screw it, we're all dead.
Right.
Either we go back down there and die or we stay up here and die. If we kill each other, it just does it that much sooner. So that's my take on what I saw from the trailer and why I don't want to see it. So, I mean, it's
but maybe
it is what it is,
aliens arrive and bring world peace, or you never know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I said I'd rather see an alien thing.
So
I mean,
I'll let you know how I like it.
I mean, let me know on that. I mean, it's looking at stuff that came out.
The bar is kind of low now. I mean, not much great has come out in like 3 years.
No, and that's the thing. It's there's not a lot out there I want to go see. It's I still want to see Wonka. I've been trying to go see that, just haven't had time.
Oh, that I really did enjoy.
And I'm definitely gonna try to see that in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I head out of town in a week and a half again for a week, and so it's gonna be it's time wise. If I'm not working, I've only got like so many hours in a day, and I'm trying to work on other stuff too, because I want to get a book out this year too, besides our Crimson Shadows. So,
Yeah.
but like looking at what came out this past week, they came out with the Mean Girls movie. They remade it based on the musical version. They did a stage version.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw the original one. It was fine. Don't really care to see this one. I did hear though that Lindsay Lohan didn't like one of the jokes in there. So
Oh.
there was a joke about a fire crutch,
Oh.
and I was like, oh, so that was a dig at her. It sounds like, but which is too bad because I mean, there's no reason to have something like that. But it's just it did 28 million. So in 3,800 theaters, it's averaging only $7,500. So I mean, most people don't really care, but there's nothing else coming out. I mean, Beekeeper came out and did 16 million. It had, so it's not like a ton of people want to go see that. Of course, the way they're advertising that one, they're not
It's
giving
more
it
straight to that would have been like in the theater for a little bit and then straight to DVD type movie.
Yeah, I expect that on like let me see who's doing that. I think I'm not sure who the producer is that one. Distributor is MGM/Weinstein, which is not the Weinsteins anymore. They sold it. They just kept the
But
name.
the name is why would you keep the name?
Because it was an established production house name.
It's established.
Yeah, but they did that like 10 years before the
Yeah.
Weinsteins because they changed. So
Yeah.
but I think the one brother is still around. So
Feel bad for him.
yeah. But it's one of those things like okay, it's MGM that, so it'll probably pop up on. I believe it's probably I would see Prime getting that. Things like that. But yeah, it's looking at what's coming out for movies wise. Oh, Super Bowl. We're supposed to have the first teaser for Deadpool.
Oh, okay. All
You
right.
know, so that'll be interesting on that. But yeah, it's like we talked about movies the other week. What's coming out? So like that. Nothing is really like, oh my god, I can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. Deadpool excited about. I think it'll be fun because I want to see him and Ryan Reynolds Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman go at it. But
They'll have good action. It'll be
a goofy
we got
story. But
one more chance with I really like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
yeah,
So it gives us one more chance at doing it. It doesn't undo anything from Logan because I think Logan was so masterfully done. So I'm glad they've come up with a way of doing this where I'm thinking it's a multiverse version of Wolverine.
well, even if it's not, it takes place prior to what Logan supposedly took place.
That's
We're actually
true.
getting closer to when Logan took place. I think it was like 2029 or something like that. But it's not far off, And they never really said if that Logan and everything was actually the straight one from those, or is that the multiverse or whatever. So, but it can still be done. And I think we are looking at the very last time that Hugh Jackman will play Wolverine. So,
Yeah.
and,
In theory.
I know what I'm looking for coming up is season 2 of Halo is getting ready to come out.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, let me see here.
That Paramount?
Yeah, I like that one a lot. February 8th is when it's premiering. And it looks like they're dropping 2 episodes, and then it'll be weekly after that through its 8-episode run. I enjoyed that first season. I thought it was a really good translation of the game to build the story up and build the character up of Master Chief along with the others, and that were also those type of warriors, just like Master Chief is. So
Nice.
the Spartans. So looking forward to that. That looks, like I said, that looks pretty good. And of course, speaking of Paramount. Big Fur this week when people were complaining they took off a lot of the original Star Trek movies, and I'm thinking they may have taken a lot of the series off there too for streaming. People complain about that all the time. They were supposed to be the home; they're always supposed to be there. They've moved them over to I think because they still have contracts that I think you can see the movies believe are on Prime right now.
Okay.
So, but they're going to do that as we talked about this with
I
streaming.
just did that. Was it last year? I had that whole. I went through a big marathon. I think it was like early summer last year.
Yeah, you
But
went through all the different shows.
all the Star Trek movies and a bunch of the shows, and it was really fun. And you know what? Watching the movies in a row, they were well done. I liked them. Now they did get worse towards the end there, but God, what a run for Star Trek 2, 3, 4. And, when I watched them back to back, even 5, I didn't mind. I liked it better now than when I originally saw it. And but 2, 3, 4, so masterfully done. Back to back movies that way. They're so good.
Yeah.
So
Well, and they were the smart thing they did was the first movie was I've gone back and watched it for years, and I know some people truly love it. I've always just been okay with it. And I go years without seeing it. I'll watch it again. I'm like, okay, it was okay.
yeah, I did not like the first movie.
They tried to change too much. It was very dry, very dull. Everything's about Viger, which is Voyager, which was the probe,
Yeah,
not the Voyager show.
yeah, the letters were scrubbed
But
out or something. So
going
they
back
couldn't mess with them.
to the heart of the series, which was the Wrath of Khan, and pulling from the original series helped that, and that set up for going forward with the Search for Spock, which was Star Trek 3. They were back to back movies, and then in Search for Spock, they left it off to go right into 4, which was almost a return in some ways of the first movie because it had a
Yeah,
similar context of they had to save, bring
yeah.
something from the past to the future to stop this machine or whatever. But
Well, I think the key is they learned from Star Wars.
yeah,
The first movie was really designed to be more like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like the pacing and the visual,
well
like the way they did
they
it.
tried to be the serious sci-fi where Star Wars
Right.
was the fantasy.
And then after Star Wars, and they saw how they did versus that, I think they realized we got to go back to character driven. It's
Oh,
about Kirk, Bones, and Spock.
well, and that's where they realized they screwed up on that was by not being as character driven as they should have been. It was more about this weird story. It was, and again, keep in mind, Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out after Star Wars. It was because of Star Wars that Paramount decided to go with Star
Well,
Trek
they
because it
were
was an established thing.
well. Now, my understanding is they were actually planning on bringing Star Trek back, but as a series. But because of Star Wars, they thought, "Oh, we have to make this a movie
Right, and that's
to
what it was.
stay
Is
competitive."
but well, actually, Star Wars coming out is actually what got them talking about doing the series.
Okay,
And then from there, it was like, no, we should do this as a movie
right.
and
Because they saw
capitalize
the
on that.
success that Star Wars had.
Right, and also you had other stuff that went to series right away, like Battlestar Galactica, Buck Rogers. Those were all things that were. So there's all these sci-fi series that were getting ready to hit the TV. So they went the other direction, being an established show or an established
Yeah.
property.
Well, I think a
And
big part of it too was Star Wars unlocked the secret key, the Pandora's box of special effects. They went a whole new direction. So
yeah,
all these other people were like, "Oh, that's how you do that." So it allowed them to people started mimicking the techniques.
well, yeah. I mean, you look at what it was. You look at Battlestar Galactica. If you for the TV show, it was they did the theatrical release of the pilot and then TV show. Same with Buck Rogers, theatrical release and went to series.
Yeah.
But they used a lot of the Battlestar Galactica had actually gotten people from Star Wars to create the special effects.
And Macquarie to
Yep.
design. And actually, they got sued by Lucas because they were using his techniques for the special effects. And there was a big lawsuit and everything. I forget how it turned out. But
I think
obviously,
they ended up settling, and I think part of it was they
yeah.
ended up going using ILM
Is that
for
what it
some of
was?
their. I think they ended up saying, "Well, we're going to come to you guys, have you guys do this now," and then
Yeah.
that's why you see ILM does so much of special effects because it's a lot of their techniques. But it's the things like how they filmed the fight scenes in the ships. They go watch all those behind the scenes of Star Wars.
It's amazing.
It was something that wasn't being done then, and it basically created. Well, the thing that Lucas did right was in those scenes he wanted it to look like dogfights. People that that people knew those World War II movies, so he wanted to mimic that in space.
Yeah.
And I remember even as a kid, people going, you would never see the lasers, and it would never have the sound. Never. I'm like, it's a movie. Yeah.
Right, but they say that, but now you can see people building real lightsabers.
Yes.
You can see like how much science fiction that would never be real is now real.
Well, science fiction does.
Kirk signing off on these tablets that we now have tablets.
Yeah.
And,
Well, think about it. We had our flip phones and everything
yeah,
else, and
people are
we
developing
we had
holograms.
we had the Nextel, which was like the communicators and all that.
Yeah,
So, but last thing about this stuff, and then we're probably gonna wrap it up here is
yeah.
they started filming season 3.
Oh, good.
So this was from December, and the begin production of season 3. That's like the picture for the cast, and not saying anything else yet. There's this right here, so it is in production. So I think that's awesome. I'm
I've
excited about
thoroughly
that.
enjoyed it. I like the casts all around.
Yep, and that's dated December 12th, 2023, season 3. So it's getting there. So
It's getting there. We know the future of Pike, of Captain Pike. It'll be
yeah,
interesting to see how they wrap it up with him.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many more seasons ago. They're not talking about ending it with this third one, at least this time, but I'd like to see him go at least 5, if not 7 seasons with it, because I think it's a good round there. But they'll build to where he gets to the point when they hand everything off. They're slowly setting
Yeah.
up all that too. So
Well, I guess it would be interesting to look back and see, like, are they treating, because they're doing another, it's a 5-year mission.
yes,
So is each season a year? And if so, I guess we could look up how far into his, like, we could figure out when he died in the Star
yeah,
Trek timeline. So we might be able to calculate, like, oh, this should be season 3 or.
yeah. Well, it was like here it says Stranger World set in 2259. While the original series takes place in 2265. I'm going by what's on like a wiki type thing here, so take it with a grain of salt. The Menagerie, which is the two-parter, occurs in 2267. His fate came to pass in 2266. So it is 7 years for his fate from the time that
Okay.
the Stranger World started. So they've
So
got the time in there.
they got plenty of time to do a lot of
And they
stories.
don't have to rush like a year per season. They can do,
But even if they did a year per season, they got like 7 seasons.
yeah,
So they got plenty of room.
yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that we get that. It is one of the better shows out there. I've really been enjoying, and not just a Star Trek show, just a good sci-fi show all the way around.
They've done such a good job of getting to the basics and the formula of the original series and getting back to that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, but we're still getting some really great character development and seeing these guys, the characters grow. I loved seeing how the Nurse Chapel character, they've really just
Oh,
they built her up to be more than what she ever was in the original series.
definitely,
And that,
definitely.
and I love the Doctor that they have on that too. He's really great
And
too because I love their
it's
backstory.
yep, it's fun seeing the backstory of Ahura. I've enjoyed how they've worked Kirk into things. I've
Yep.
gotten used to the new Kirk. It was weird at first. I felt it was Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Very weird his physical appearance compared to Jim Carrey, but they put him in enough this last season that you get used to it and you can see, okay, he's getting that vibe, the Kirk vibe. You
Yeah.
can see it forming. So it'll be neat to see how that happens. Did Bones just join at the end of the last
No, I
season?
believe that was Scotty.
Scotty joined. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think for them to bring in Bones, it's gonna have to do something with killing off the Doctor they have currently.
yeah. Plus,
So,
he wasn't in the pilot,
I don't
the
believe so.
cage.
No. Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So we'll probably see that hopefully not later this year, beginning of next year. So
Very good.
all right. Hey, join us next week. We'll let you know what time next week. Usually it's still 10 o'clock unless Scott's got something going on or I've got something going on. And
Yep.
we'll talk more whatever we want to talk about.
Awesome.
See y'all next week.
Take care.